We begin this news hour in Tunisia, from which hundreds of African migrants and asylum seekers have been forced out and sent as far as the Libyan border. The city of Sfax is a major departure point for many trying to reach Europe in search of a better life. But hundreds of them are now stranded in the desert with no food or water. Andrew Simmons reports.
It's yet another worsening humanitarian crisis for migrants. On the border between Tunisia and Libya, hundreds of people are stranded. Initial reports said they were without water or food. Tunisia is trying to deport these sub-Saharan Africans, and Libya is refusing to let them into its territory. Tensions had risen after disturbances in Tunisia's second-largest city, Sfax, where 3 migrants were arrested after a man in his early 40s was stabbed to death. He was a resident in the city. At the man's funeral, local youths called for vengeance against migrants. The violence spread and police brought in reinforcements. This city is the departure point for thousands of migrants crossing the Mediterranean in boats, trying to reach Italy. Disturbances here aren't new. Local residents often protest against the presence of migrants wanting to move on to Europe. And in February, Tunisia's president, Kais Saied, accused what he called hordes of illegal migrants of bringing violence and crime into his country.
This kind of inflammatory speech is taking the country by storm, and no matter how much you try to push back, the misinformation just spreads like wildfire.
Tunisia doesn't want the migrants inside its border, and Libya next door has the same sentiment.
On illegal immigration, it's known that Libya is a bridge country to Europe. Reports say hundreds of Arab and African illegal immigrants come to Libya, where the state is burdened with their expenses, from accommodation to healthcare, from electricity to fuels. This has taken a toll on our citizens.
This is a militarized border. In the searing heat, it's no place for people to be stranded. The violence may be down to a minority of these people, but it's the majority who suffer, whether it be here in the desert or risking their lives on boats. Andrew Simmons, Al Jazeera.
Well, our correspondent Malik Trainer is following this story for us from Tripoli.
The situation in Sfax has been tense for months, and that reached a breaking point. Residents protested in the city against the presence of African migrants, and that got violent. A man was killed. Local officials tell us 3 people have been arrested, and an investigation is underway. This is a North African problem. It's not just Tunisia. Libya, in previous years, was the primary transit hub for migrants and refugees trying to reach European shores through the Mediterranean Sea. But recently, this year, Tunisia has overtaken Libya. Just to give you some numbers, according to the UN Refugee Agency, 33,860 migrants and refugees have arrived to Italy from Tunisia. Libya below that at 27,860. UN fact-finding mission earlier this year said that migrants and refugees face widespread abuses, including arbitrary detention, kidnappings, torture, forced labor, and rape. So people are looking for a safer alternative. So there needs to be a solution where people are given, these migrants and refugees are given a safe haven, an opportunity, job opportunities, and to be able to feel safe here in Africa. Malik Traina, Al Jazeera, Tripoli.
Well, let's now bring in Lauren Seibert. She's a refugee and migrants rights researcher at Human Rights Watch. She joins us now from Washington, D.C. Lauren, I understand you've been in touch with some of these evictees, and I also believe the group includes 2 pregnant women and a 16-year-old girl. We've also obviously seen many children in some of the videos from there. What have you been hearing about the situation there from the people you've been in touch with?
Thanks so much. The situation is extremely urgent and concerning, according to the accounts that I've been receiving. I was in touch with an initial group of 20 that were expelled on Sunday, but then in subsequent days, more and more have been expelled and are arriving. And now their estimate is that there are at least 350 or more, maybe 400 or more migrants and asylum seekers, including children, there in that remote desert area in a militarized zone at the border between Tunisia and Libya. And so people are just really in a crisis situation, being pushed back and forth between the two sides, feeling at risk on both sides with nowhere to go, with limited to no food. Children are in a desperate situation. There are pregnant women. There are reports that I have not been able to verify, but that a pregnant woman has died giving birth. So while, there are accounts of people dying that we have no way to verify, but it's extremely concerning.
Lauren, if they're in this militarized zone, as you say, does the United Nations or aid agencies have access to them?
That's what we've been seeking to try and make happen, and it is extremely important that the Tunisian government permit humanitarian access to this group as soon as possible. But it seems that thus far nobody has had access to this group, no civil society groups, associations, UN. So that would be the most urgent thing that needs to happen immediately to prevent any deaths or any further deaths, and particularly to help the vulnerable people in the group. And to bring them back to the Tunisia side, because they should not be forced into the Libya side due to the extreme risks there.
Lauren, what is actually preventing access? Is it the Tunisian government holding it up?
That's hard to say. We have not been in direct contact with the government, as other agencies and organizations are attempting to liaise on this. So I've been focusing on speaking directly with the people impacted, the people expelled at the border, and collecting their testimonies and sharing them as I can. But we do hope to follow up within the next day or so and just find what does the government have to say about this particular situation? Why are people not being allowed access?
Lauren, you've been documenting an increase, as you say, in the number of people stranded at that border over the last few days. Do you expect that number to further increase? And I believe there's also been speculation of expulsions towards the Algerian border too.
We are very concerned that the number could increase, since almost every day there's been a new group expelled, and there have been mass arrests, roundups and arrests in Sfax, and then people have been held at police stations without adequate assessments of their legal status. So people who have been expelled include people who were legally present in Tunisia, as well as people in an irregular status. And so we're seeing lots of reports of just abusive roundups happening right now in Sfax, which indicate that more could be expelled either to the Tunisia side or the Algeria side, although we don't have confirmation yet on the Algeria side, but these reports are very concerning.
Lauren Seibert, the refugee and migrant rights worker researcher at Human Rights Watch. Thank you so much for sharing your work with us here on Al Jazeera, Lauren. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.